So Jana and Alicia, there's a nice little group here. People will be, there might be a few people that'll join us later, but it's 2:30, and I'll let the people in the audience know. You know what? I'm tempted to just open everybody up.
I was going to say it's Gwendolyn, Irma, Julie, Kate, Mrs. Clayton, Sari, and Cheryl. Yeah.
I'm gonna give these people the opportunity to use their microphone and/or camera. A nice, tidy little group. And if anybody wants to join in with voice or video, you're welcome to do that.
And here I thought they were all leaving on us because they're no longer attendees.
Yeah, they're here.
Perfect.
Oh, welcome. That's great.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. All right, Jana.
Yeah, welcome back. We're excited to have a conversation with you guys, and that's exactly what we want it to be. Just a conversation about some things that resonated with you, and just have a conversation. We've already been talking a little bit. Rod's going to join in as well, which we love. Rod is the man who suggested Lori Santos to us, so he has a lot that he'd love to add as well. And Alicia?
For sure. Yeah, and the conversation that we started with was like, we should just continue that conversation. So Jana, we can skip right through all that chat and all that stuff now that everyone has access to their cameras. If you feel comfortable putting your camera on and also your mic, you are more than welcome to join in the conversation. We are here for you. We want to have the conversation with everyone. So
just in having that discussion before we started, Mary Lynn, I just quickly pulled this picture because we were talking about social media and the powerful things that it could do. And I saw this a couple days ago. Let's give the opportunity for this school year to be awesome, right? We don't want to throw judgment at it right now before it begins. We are stressed, but focus on what you can control, and it can surprise us in big, beautiful ways. So I liked that. All right.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead, Marilyn.
I was just going to say, that just reminded me of something that just happened to me. So Mel, and maybe some other people on here, taught summer learning this summer. And the summer learning program has always been this amazing camp-like experience, right? Where kids come from different schools, they come to a school, and they learn all morning, and then in the afternoon they have all these great activities that go on. And I was dead set against it. Like in March and April, I was like, I'm looking at Ben going, there's no way. These kids have been online since March. They're not going to want to go online again, and there's no camp, and there's no, right, they're separated. Anyway, long story short, I had all that negativity going on, and then as Ben and I, as we realized it was actually going to happen, we started to work our way through it. I got more and more excited about it because it was going to be different and new, but we were able to do all kinds of things that we haven't been able to do in the past. So, for example, kids from Kinwood all the way to Tilbury were able to attend. I can't normally do that, right? I can't, we reached out to every single school in the whole district. So we had kids from all over. So that's a plus that we were able to do. The experience itself, we were able, because we didn't have, we had the same amount of money, but we couldn't spend money on the things that we normally spend money on. So we were able to hire a lot of teachers, which gave us small ratios of kids. So the kids got this beautiful 1-to-4 or 1-to-5 ratio with the teacher. We hired recreational teachers who came in for half an hour of the learning and did these amazing things with the kids online. Like they built these s'more makers out of stuff that was in the house. They built a they built a lava lamp. They, like, from stuff that was in the house. They just did, anyway, that's the thing that can happen, is that new things can happen that are actually in the positive as opposed to So it just reminded me when you had that screen up. Sorry for taking up that time, but.
Oh, absolutely. It's so relevant, right? And that's what we're talking about, is the unforeseen positivities that can happen from this. The way she talked about social media, right? Like if you're using it in the right way.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So the key takeaway, I do have the 7 insights that we can talk about, but we'd love to hear from you guys. She finished with really investing in your own happiness as an investment in your students. And we were just wondering, what was one of the key things that resonated with you, and what might you do to maybe change some of the ways of thinking or some of your actions that you're going to start the school year with? Do we have the chat feature available to us, Rod?
Yeah, the chat is open, but everyone also has ability to turn their microphone on now, or their camera and microphone, whatever they prefer.
So yeah, feel free, anyone who wants to talk about what really resonated with you with something that Lori said.
I was just going to mention, I'm a resource teacher, and I'm participating in the voluntary transition support for these kids, and I thought that this session might have some helpful things, because as I've reached out to parents, the responses I'm getting, I sent in an email because I thought that would give them some time to think about what their child might need, rather than a phone call where you're on the spot. And you know, I'm saying, how can I support your child? And they're like, give me a minute. I'm in the middle of doing dishes. So I chose to send out emails, but and just after the session ended, before this one started, I was back checking more emails from parents, and the parents are just as concerned or more concerned than the kids are. And so I thought this session might be helpful to me as an individual, as a parent myself, as a teacher, but also so that I could potentially use some of the information that Lori shared in trying to support these students, but also their parents who have some pretty significant concerns. So I just really liked how Lori said that, you know, like really that it's our attitude and our positivity. And, you know, I'm sorry, I got all my notes here. Which part was it? I'm jotting things down. Oh, right there. I had another thought too. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here. Well, maybe I'll skip to this one. Just about making time for gratitude every day. That you know, even though there are uncertainties and anxieties, that having our kids understand that the opportunity to be educated and attend school, although it may look a little different, is really something to be grateful for. And being around friends again, even though, you know, we have to wear a mask, and we maybe can't all play together in the same space, and that kind of thing. So I thought that was might be good for teachers to set the tone about being grateful for opportunity we have to even be in the schools and having those experiences, rather than for a lot of kids being stuck at home and isolated. Sorry, I kind of lost my first thought. It was just about our attitude as the teachers, and, you know, the taking care of ourselves really does transmit to our students, and helping them sort of our attitude will kind of follow along with it, the part that she was talking about there. So that's what I took away from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that, for sure. And we talk about flipping the script, right? With that gratitude and trying to find, you know what, yeah, there are a lot of things that we're not going to be able to do, but these are the things that we are going to be able to do. And these are the things that we should be grateful for, that we are able to come to school and you're able to see your friends. So thank you for that, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
There are some comments in the chat too, so just keep an eye on that.
I was wondering, Kelly, that exactly what you wrote in the chat there about that spiral, and just kind of shifting your mindset into the kind of, this is a challenge, this is going to be new. It's exactly the same as what we went on in March, when we all had to kind of shift. It is a challenge and there is uncertainty, but if we go into it with that positive attitude, that is really, really going to transfer to our students. So I don't know, Kelly, if you wanted to kind of expand on that. You have some great ideas there in the chat. Nope.
Yeah, it's interesting. The stress, like when it hit in March, it was really like we didn't see it coming. It's like a car accident you don't see ahead of time. This one we've seen from way off, but we don't know what it is we're going to run into when we get to that intersection. So we're all sort of knowing something's going to happen. I think the anxiety would be reduced if we knew what it was, but even knowing specifically what it's going to be like, there's still anxiety about that too.
Yeah.
Hi guys, can I just share? I have also had huge anxiety, obviously, leading up to the start of school. And like Cheryl, I'm a resource teacher participating in the transition project. And I've just found this week just kind of putting on my professional hat again and just helping parents. So the whole helping others, it has helped me to kind of just regain a viewpoint of, you know, I am helping them, I'm calming them, and I've found my anxiety has lowered. So that's been really helpful for me now to picture going back in the classroom next week and being able to picture myself. Yep, I can still be professional and have my stressful moments, but I can overcome them. So that's been a real insight that I've had this week.
Thanks for that, Julie, because I think a lot of people feel the same way that you did. And being real and being open and being honest and saying, yeah, I'm stressed out too. But you know what? By you helping the parents and I think it's almost like the more you live it, the more you believe it, right? The power of your mind is incredible. And for you to be able to say those things to the parents and to garner all of that information to share with them, it's almost like by you saying it enough, it's actually helped yourself as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was going to say, Lori uses the metaphor of the oxygen mask. You got to put your own on before you can help other people. You have to acknowledge that you've got stuff to deal with yourself.
That's right. And great. You said earlier in the session when we were talking, Rod, that you said Dave Cormier also said that with the empty cup analogy, and that you can't pour from an empty cup. Mm-hmm. Gwendolyn, I see a couple things that you want to share. Did you want to come on, Mike, and share some of the ideas that you were thinking about that you're going to start in Berlin?
Yeah, Gwen, I'd love to hear how that's going to go.
You're just muted, Gwen. Did you want to speak or do you want to just chat?
I was okay with just chat, but I'll talk.
We love hearing from you.
We do.
Oh, yes. No, I found last year, I started off with a full brand new group of kids. And so in our morning meeting, of course, I will get to do that the same way. But we started off with I called it square breathing, but I taught them how to do, 4 counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out, hold for 4. And we did that 3 times. And it was incredible, the calm that sort of settled in the room. When we did the reorg, it didn't work anymore because the kids who came back to me from the older grades brought with them a lot of other things. But I'm thinking this year, there will be such a need for that calm that if we can do that, I know breathing is hard for us as adults, but I think for the kids, the visual of watching their finger go up and around the square, it just really, really helps them. And then the other idea I had was, she mentioned journaling gratitude for ourselves, but I'm thinking last year for Mother's Day, I had my kids make a little booklet, and every day we wrote something that we were thankful for. And I think that could be something that, even if we just took 5 minutes each day, just write down 3 things you're thankful for today. We could revisit it if we're having a bad day. Hey, let's pull that out and let's look at this and see what are some things that we're thankful for and how can we focus on them instead of what's frustrating us right now or what's different, instead of negative.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
I think too,
I agree with her.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Lisa.
One thing that stood out that we always that breathing with our kids, but one thing that I down in my notes was how she said we need to take the time to do that deep breathing on our own as well. So when we're transitioning and maybe we're feeling a little upbeat or we're feeling a little bit unsettled, we need to do that for ourselves as well. because that helps keep us grounded. I think again, I'm going to revisit that whole, when we feel mentally stable and when our emotions are in check and when we are, that whole idea of calm, it resonates, and our kids really feel that. So I think that's one thing in my own practice this year I'm really going to intentionally think about, is that I am keeping myself grounded, and that whole idea of, you know, staying calm students versus feeling frustrated, because we all do it. We all feel frustrated. If we can really be compassionate with them, that might be.
And as Gwendolyn said, yes to the fact that calm.com is still available for free to educators. Is that right?
Yeah, yes it is.
Good stuff.
Oh, I wasn't saying it in response to that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was saying yes to what you're saying.
Okay. But there are a lot of apps out there to sort of, for people that are tied to their phones that need coaching on that, and how to do those types of things for themselves.
There's a few people in the chat that talked about this screen that I have up with the loving kindness meditation and just the simple breathing. Miss Clayton, you responded, you said you found it very interesting in struggling with the deep breathing meditations. And so the loving kindness meditation is very helpful. I agree with that. I really liked that piece. It put a little bit of a different spin on it. Did you want to talk to us about what you were thinking about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was just thinking, I have a really hard time focusing on my breathing. I tend to hyperventilate no matter how many times they say, you know, okay, breathe in, hold it. So I found sometimes that actually makes me more anxious. I like lists. Lists calm me down. So like the loving and kindness meditation is almost, to me, it seems almost like making a list. So I was thinking for like some of my kids that, I'm in EA, so for some of my kids that have trouble following the breathing as well, that, you know, you can, whether they like lists or whether they can draw a picture of like the people that they really care about and stuff like that. I just thought it was a really interesting way to focus and not just do the deep breathing. Because like I said, it doesn't work for me. So I don't know if it works for some of the kids.
I'm just going to make a suggestion here. There's a, like sometimes when you're doing that breathing, if you just even have a pen in your hand, just to draw spirals or just sketch patterns that your mind goes to. I had an opportunity to visit with a whole bunch of Tibetan monks that went and stayed at my brother's place at Northern Algonquin, up in Algonquin country near South River, Ontario. And they do like this, the meditation they do, this kindness meditation really struck me, because when they're praying and doing their thing and chanting, they're doing that for everyone on the planet. Every living organism on the planet is what they focus on. So they've gone from the self to other people to every living, anything that's alive. But one of the things they do when they're in meditation is they make these large sand mandalas. I don't know if you've ever seen them. You can look them up, but they use colored sand and they shake them into patterns, really, really intricate sketches and drawings. And it struck me that they have something to focus their mind on specifically that allows them to not drift, that they have to be in that moment and in that thing. And sometimes when it's just us and breathing, it might help to just have something else that you're sort of just paying attention to at the same time. Not that you're consciously trying to draw anything meaningful, but that there's a movement that sort of keeps you centered.
To add on to that, Rod, something that resonated with me was when she said, when you're consciously able to identify that your mind is wandering during meditation, that's like a rep.
Yeah,
right?
I like
and
that.
I really like that piece, because I've tried meditation and I've often said, oh, I don't know, it's for me, because my mind wanders all the time. But I love that she said, no, like you're gonna grow that and strengthen that part of your brain where you will be able to focus the more that you do it. And so a very good teacher friend of mine always says, like, where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? And she says that a lot and she lives it. And I think that that's just such a great mantra to live by, right? Where you choose to focus is where your energy is going to go.
For sure.
I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on Julie from a while back when she was talking, and I think she talked about being at school and taking parents through the school and that whole giving back and that making her feel better. I think the other part that's going to happen that we don't maybe aren't thinking about yet is that going back into a routine of going to school and having our kids come in, all of that, once we get over this hump of the unknown, I guess, and we're all there and we're with our kids again and they need you because they always do, that we will, and that's what the nurses and doctors have said as well, that they understand where we're at right now, because that's where they were back in March. Terrified to go to work, right? All of those things. And then now they've been back to work and everything's fine. But I think we've been away from work now too for so long. It's harder to go back, right? When you've had the bigger break like this. So anyway, it hit me when Julie was speaking. So.
No,
I
for
think
sure.
that's true too. I think too that they're looking forward to it, right? Like they're excited. I don't know how many times during spring online, I'm like, some of the kids, and I taught 6-7, and they would say, I never thought I'd say this, I miss school. And it was really getting to them, and it was getting to the kids who are really well balanced too, which was difficult to see. And but I think they're just as excited as we are, and I think we just need to run with that.
Jen, you wanted to share something about the insight timer, and I also noticed in the chat that you were drawing a connection to what Rod was talking about with the mandalas.
Yeah, so one of my very favorite apps is the Insight Timer. So it's like a singing bowl is sort of the picture for it. And there are thousands of guided meditations, sounds, or songs that you can listen to. So I'm a big advocate for meditation and do that quite a lot. I like when it's simple. I know some people it doesn't work for the breathing, but breathing 1 in and 2 out and 3 in and 4 out all the way to 10. Sometimes I don't make it to 10 because I'm all over the place, but again, bringing myself back and starting at 1 again. So check out that Insight Timer. You will not regret it. It is free, and there are thousands of meditations, and they're organized by time. Guided or not guided, and what you're looking for. If it's yoga nidra, which is like a sleep meditation yoga that helps you go to sleep. If you haven't done that before, please try it. It'll be amazing. Just lots of really good things there, and you can connect with people, and it will tell you how many people across the world are meditating with you at that moment. So it's cool that way. I am a drawer too, if you don't know that about me, and I am a mandala drawer. So there's one, and these are just from my desk here. And there's another one.
Wow.
Another one. That one is actually tattooed on my back. So that.
I thought you had one on your body there, so I remember.
Yeah. So that one actually she printed out and then tattooed it on my back. But that's I'm on the phone, or like Rod was talking about, that sort of mindless sort of drawing. It's either like scribbled daisies or mandalas, and I find that really just kind of centers me back down to, because I'm a person with ADHD. I'm always on the go and always moving. So if you've ever been near me, you know that. So anytime I can meditate or draw or something like that, it really brings me back to the earth. So I hope that's helpful.
Mine's downloaded. I just did it, Jen. So thank you.
So good.
Jen, I was going to say too, I feel that in your school, like you guys do a really wonderful job of that whole mindfulness in your building. So again, it goes back to just, keeping everyone grounded and staying calm, especially during these disruptive times. So that's something that will be very beneficial.
We do a meditation over the announcements in the morning, and the whole school will meditate together during the announcements. So it'll be just I guide the meditation, and or the kids who do the announcement sometimes do it, and just sort of breathing in kindness and positivity and releasing all the negativity and fear, breathing in all the good things that are going to happen today and letting go of everything that's negative or things that I'm worried about. It takes like 30 seconds tops, but they already know, hands in your lap, lower your eyes so you're not distracted, spine on a line, right? They know all of that. They know what that looks like. So it's pretty cool actually to walk through the school when it's happening, because all the kids are doing that posture in their own way. Some are laying down, some are sitting in chairs. So it's pretty cool.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate that for sharing. I think a lot of people also in the chat there, thank you for that insight timer that you were sharing with us. Kaylee, I wanted to get back to something that you had wrote in the chat as well. So I put the screen back up because you really liked the quote that she said that I shared here. The investing in our own happiness is an investment in your students. Do you want to talk to us about what you were thinking about that when you heard it?
Hi, sorry. So that really resonated with me because I think it's really easy in my role, in all of our roles, to forget about our own happiness at times because we're being pulled in so many different directions. And I was reflecting on that earlier when I said I haven't been working out this week because I've been back at work and I'm not quite used to those early mornings yet. And I'm really noticing that my own happiness is in fact not so much affecting my students because there's nobody here yet. I'm alone most of the time, but at home, right? So I'm not taking that time for myself, and it's causing me to be pretty short with my family members who don't deserve that. But I'm also thinking that during the school year, if I don't focus on what I think is the right thing to do or what I need to do for myself, then I'm not going to be able to be there for all those different people who need me. So I like that one. I wrote it down in big letters and I'm going to throw it on my wall.
I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads because, you know, you've said the same thing that we were talking about earlier about, you know, sometimes us bringing our stressors home to our kids, right? And it is, we're parents, we're teachers, we're leaders, we're coaches, we're all of that. And it does affect our kids, right? And so you've just reiterated that with you saying, I take it home, and unfortunately it's my family has gotten the short end of the stick this week a little bit. So, yeah. But identifying it, right? Again, like saying, like you choose to, it's like that meditation piece. You know that when your mind is wandering, okay, that's a rep. So you've just done a rep. You've identified, yep, I got to get back to that. I got to get back to working out and focusing on myself. And it's just prioritizing this week, which we know is so we appreciate all the things you guys are doing in the buildings before we show up.
So I'd be interested in hearing what hacks people have, their own personal life hacks to make sure they get their activity and do something physical. Because this is one of the critical things for not only for kids, but for us as adults to have a routine where we either go for a walk or a bike ride or a yoga or whatever. And if you listen to Lori Santos, she'll tell you straight up, she has a great deal of difficulty sticking with the routine. But there's something rewarding about being able to check off that you have done it. I mean, a lot of people have on their watch things that track their movement through the day and remind them that they have to do certain things. I'm wondering if people have ways of, what do they do for being active and how do they make sure they do it on a regular basis?
I need lots of help with this. I cannot get it figured out. So I would also love the hacks.
You know, it's interesting because I'm just pulling it up now. When we were chatting with Lori, and Ben had sent an email to her saying, you know, welcome, Alicia and Jana are going to be your support people. I immediately responded back and said, hey, Lori, looking forward to seeing you. And I look forward to chatting with you, to which I immediately got an email that just said, over the past few weeks, I've started receiving more than 100 emails a day And so keeping up with that many questions and requests meant that I was hurting my own time affluence and having less time for the important projects that I really should be prioritizing. And so I am currently trying my own personal well-being experiment. I am going to try to practice what I preach and reduce the amount of time I usually spend on email. And so it was her saying, I'm probably not going to get back to you, but that's because I need to live what I'm saying. And I thought that was really neat that she's taken the time to put in an email in an out of office reply, not just that I'm not going to get back to you, but that this is why I need to live what I'm sharing. And I thought that was neat. Gwendolyn, I don't have a hack, but I have to do my cardio first thing in the morning. It's way easier. It's way too easy not to do it otherwise. Very true.
That's part of the power of routine too, right? Where we've got our own ourselves and our kids have probably gotten into routine of keeping much later hours than they normally would. And having that routine of forcing yourself to bed at a certain time, forcing yourself to get some exercise at a certain time, whether it's doing your homework at a certain time, the routine of something like that, doing it always in the morning. That's one of the great things. I have to get out and go for a walk or bike ride before I go to bed at night. So it's just on my to-do list. And if it hasn't been checked off, I'll force myself to go walk around the block, even if it's very, very late at night. But I feel so much better having done it. Just being able to, as part of the routine, have checked it off.
Yeah, Kate shared that as well, walking the dogs. That's just something that is a part of the routine, but probably makes you feel really good too. The fresh air, the exercise, getting to spend time with the pups. Yeah. Emily, did you want to talk about what you shared here? It says, I encourage staff that they are worth 1/24th of their day. And I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. Sorry, yeah. Okay, can you see me and hear me? Okay. Yes, I read a book. I love exercise. I'm an early morning person, but I recognize not everybody does. So I read a book about prioritizing ourself and taking care of ourselves before, as educators, we can take care of others, and about how our glass each day gets emptied. And so how do we refill it? Well, it would be better to start with a full glass. So I had a challenge with the Bazanquet staff and I said, look, we are all worth 1/24th of our day. You know, some of us have lots of life stuff going on. Our job takes us, you know, with different demands, our family, etc. However, if we schedule every day 1 hour for us, and then we would, at staff meetings, I would hold them accountable. How are you spending your 1/24th? And it kind of became, and it was like a positive reinforcement, and the staff got into that. I also gave them little gratitude stones that I said, put it in your car. If at the very least, before you open your car door to come into this school, I want you to have thought of at least 3 things you're grateful for, so that you come in and you're ready. I said, even if you're grateful that you could get out the door in the morning or whatever it was. Anyway, it just became part of our experience as a staff and in our staff meetings, and it became a standing item.
What was the name of the resource you said you read? Was it?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I will look it up, but it was for educators. And to be completely honest, I struggled. And so, and I've always loved working out, but for me, it was the meditation and the yoga. And so a person lent me this book about 1/24th, and it just really, I don't know whatever it was, it really kind of made sense to me. Like, yeah, I am worth 1/24th at the very least. So sometimes we would even joke as a staff and be like, oh, I slipped in 3/24ths. So anyway, it was just kind of a neat way to encourage each other and hold each other accountable.
Thank you.
I'm curious if anyone had any connections to insight number 4, which was helping others makes us happier than we kind of expect. That was something that I really thought hard about. As an educator, our kind of role is to help and to support one another as well as our students. Just wondering if anyone has any thoughts around that.
Just to take a minute to just expand upon the research that she quotes for that, with the $5 and $20 to spend it. Spending it on other people, the happiness, they measure people, they have you fill out the scale. It makes you happier than if you spend that on yourself, that reality. So if you take that to time that you talk about, you spend time on yourself, but giving your time to someone else to help them with something, to do something, there's something rewarding out of that. It just, we've all been there where someone asks you to help with something and you help them out and you go with a smile on your face, where it's really a chore. It's a drudgery kind of thing that they need help with, but it's kind of, there's a little bit of joy when you do it with other people.
For sure. And I think one idea that kind of I thought about while she was talking about that, we've all had those moments when a student in our class or in our building, has success with something, and we have helped them get to that point, and that excitement that they show and how good they feel, and in return, how good we feel about it. So that was really something that I thought, you are right. This is why we are here. This is what our role is. And the more success and the more time that our students is really going to help us maintain that positive attitude, because our kids need us, the students need us, families need us, and we need our students as well. So I think right now is an especially good time to kind of keep that in the back of our heads moving forward.
So going back, Rod, to your challenge to the group, you wanted to hear their hacks. Miss Clayton, you shared that you created a Facebook Messenger group with friends that live all over the province, and you all agree on a yoga video, and you watched on your laptops and you do it together, and you meet every other weekday, 5 days a week. What time do you meet?
Well, we started this back in April because everyone was home with that. So my one friend lives out west, so she gets home at 6. So we decided, the rest of us live in Ontario. So we decided, okay, 8 o'clock works for us and also works for her, so she's home as well. So we picked a time that worked for like everybody's time schedule, because we're all pretty lucky with working like 9 to 5s and stuff like that. And so it was nice to sometimes just, and even if like we're doing a pose and it's horrible, we're sitting there like laughing about it, and it's like, oh, well, can you stand on one leg? And it's like, no, I'm falling over. And it was a way to exercise, but also keep that social aspect as well.
So, that could be a motivator, eh? Working with other people.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead there, Rod.
I was just going to say, like the research shows that when you do things with other people, it pushes you to do better. My undergraduate was in human kinesiology, human kinetics, and movement. And the psychology of sport is where I learned that the effect of an audience on performance is tremendous. So they have you do things like do these different skills. And when they track how far you can jump, how fast you can run, whatever your performance is, if you do it with someone else nearby, you do better than if you do it on your own. So this idea to me is a hack that pushes the example you've given, it pushes your yoga a little bit further. You see other people can do it. So you're like, I got to step up, even though it's straining me, I'm going to try to get a little farther than maybe I would all by myself.
Yeah, and then we also held each other like, excuse me, accountable for like, oh, why aren't you participating tonight? And like, okay, well, are you going to join tomorrow? And it kind of like, it's easier just to slough it off when you're doing it yourself. But when we have this like group meeting, then it was also looking forward to seeing everybody and being accountable to everybody else. So I found that very helpful during the lockdown.
I wonder if that's part of the like doing challenges with a peer is one of the ways that maybe you can change habits. Before we officially opened the call, one of the things we were talking about was Ariana Huffington is the person I was thinking about, the Huffington Post gal. She never lets her phone into her bedroom. And I've heard her talk about this more than once on different podcasts. But I think if that's a really healthy habit, it's so hard not to do it. But if I had an arrangement with other people that we were alerting one another that we were successful or not successful in doing it, it would sort of change our motivation and give us a little bit of wherewithal and strength to actually follow through and do it because someone else is knowing about it. Just that little thing. Things like diets and exercise, those types of things can also be effective when we know other people, these weight loss challenges. I lost a pound, I lost 2 pounds, or I walked 2 miles, or I ran 3 miles. Those types of things with other people, just checking in with them can be a motivator to keep going.
Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Hey, could we talk about gratitude for a second?
Absolutely.
One of the activities in the course that she teaches, this rewirement challenge, is to write a letter of gratitude to someone who's had an impact on you. And the idea is that you're supposed to write this letter, but then deliver it personally. I had the opportunity to do that. It was so awesome. It was totally, totally awesome. I enjoyed writing it, first of all, because it made me reflect on some things that this person had impacted my life. And it really, it was personal. And then when I handed it, I was like, how do you accept that? Is that going to be seen as goofy? Well, it was received with such grace and warmth. It gave me goosebumps. It was really like kind of a thing that's very easy to do. And I've worked with principals that used to write thank you cards to me, and they do it, but they do it to everybody in the staff. Like people throughout the year would get different notes in their mailbox. But the power of that experimental, whatever it was that she suggested on those phone call people, that just saying, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing, it's fantastic, makes them work harder and do better. And I wonder in the context of schools, if there's a way we could build into our own routines that habit of, whether it's note cards or just in words, delivering those positive, affirming messages that really, it's a selfish thing, because when you do it, you actually feel happier as much as they feel happy.
Knowing you're going to brighten their day or, give them that little boost that they sometimes need. Absolutely.
It's funny. I had a story I was thinking about that. One of my very close friends, it was her first year of teaching a few years ago, and she was teaching kindergarten, and it was when the communication of learning was just coming out. And it was just such a task that it just seemed insurmountable almost. And I remember she said to me, I just need a box of Cocoa Puffs to get me through because I'm going crazy for Cocoa Puffs. And so that's what I did. I went to the store and I bought a box of Cocoa Puffs and I delivered them to her house. But you know what? You're right. Was it crazy? Yep. Was it fun? Yeah. But the smile it brought to both of our faces, because it was just something so little, but it just meant so much, right?
Yeah. Those little things, I have a habit of writing them down. When I learn these little facts about people, I have a list on my phone that is just facts about different people, so that when the birthday comes or there's a time that normally people would do gifts or something, there's a way to personalize it, just that little extra. It's cool.
Gwendolyn. Oh my goodness. Another thing that resonated, gratitude and appreciation from the principal. It does matter. You're right. It's and we have some principals on now, and I know them, some of them quite well. And every time you walk into their buildings, you feel accepted and welcomed and being grateful for being there. And you said you had a principal who wrote a handwritten note with every set of report cards. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we wrap up, Gwen?
Not a whole lot to say. It was one of those things. I mean, report cards, nobody enjoys that job. We all do it because we have to. But when you get them back with a personal message, handwritten, And it just felt like, hey, I see how hard you worked and I appreciate it. It made you want to do even better the next time. Like the desire to improve is always there when you're hearing that, appreciation for the effort or for anything really. So I'm a big believer in appreciation.
For sure. And it's like you're invested in them, and that just shows that they're invested as well, right? That they appreciate that.
Exactly.
And I think that whole, before we unlocked the room for everyone, we were having that conversation, and just keeping in mind right now, we are all human and we are all feeling all sorts of different things. And those moments of gratitude, and when we feel appreciated in authentic ways, and it goes along with how our students are feeling, that just, that keeps us going. It keeps us in the right headspace. And no matter how difficult it gets, those are the moments that we really, really need to be intentionally thinking about with our colleagues and peers and our students.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything else anybody wants to add?
Well, yeah, I think your homework is to go be happy. Alicia, I love the way you wrote there in the chat about making people accountable for their own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. That is a really interesting thought. Like, I have to go and do that hike because I'm responsible for my happiness. I have to do it. That's why I have to. It's not that I have to do the walk. It's that my happiness, that end goal, is kind of resulted on me doing that thing. I have to send a little text of thank you back to Jana because it's actually gonna make me happy. That's why I have to send it.
Yeah.
That's really a cool. I think that's a wonderful point to end on, that we take responsibility for ourselves, and because we know that being around happy people makes other people happier. You're actually making them happy by being happier yourself. That's
right.
Well, and we are happy and we are grateful that you brought Lori Santos to us, Rod.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad that followed through. That was fun. It was really good.
Yeah. And we are thankful for everyone who joined us. I think these items are not new. I think we knew about them. It's just nice to really have that refresher and just to keep them in the front of our minds as we move forward into September and onward. But we're not done yet. We're only halfway through our launch. So much more coming.
Wow, some big topics left to consider, right?
Yeah, tomorrow morning with Shanker and the whole idea of self-regulation. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Jana, what are you looking forward to the next couple days, I guess?
I'm interested in seeing what Chris Sertam is going to say. And so talking about some of the new mathematics and just an update on that screen though that you're seeing. Wob Canoe is no longer joining us. So the last presentation on Friday will be with Katie and with Chris. They are running simultaneously, so you are going to have to pick which one you want to join. And I'm wondering if, give me 1 sec. No, she's no longer. Ange was on. I was going to have her talk a little bit about Katie. But yeah, so tomorrow we have Stuart and Ajoma, and then Friday, Katie and Chris.
Yeah, lots of great stuff. So
I had the opportunity to meet Katie online when we were talking about having her here. She will not disappoint. I guarantee it. So it is about ELL students, second language, not always, but learning a second language, but it will apply to everybody, and she will be very, very good. So highly recommend Katie.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Be well. See you soon.